Okay, I spot check it for the male side, making sure the pins are all in place, make sure the weight wells aren't short. Then I make sure they put the right hardware hook hangers, the weights, make sure they're in the right place. Whenever they weld it, I take my finger and check the tails, pull points, to make sure they're not popping open, because a lot of times they do if they don't weld it right. From there, I come back here. If it's a polycarb, I sand it, then I take it out and I dip it, put it through the reactor, come back, take one of them and paint it down the backs and the belly of the lure, making sure that there's no gaps. And I always look down it. As long as you don't see an opening, then you're okay. It's sealed up. If I don't see no problem, then I'll hook it out and I'll go swimming. Wondering why they won't put me no fish in there. They told me the reason is because those guys up there in the front office would spend more time back here with me instead of up there doing their jobs. That is what I was told. Then from there, I go up and I'll spot check every hour the lures, whether it be body halves such as this. I make sure I snap them together. Make sure they go together right. Again, check the pins and all that. Then after I've spot checked and caught molding up, then I go to work cell. They have some soft plastics that's been bagged. I check to make sure they've heat sealed it, make sure that there's the right amount of worms in the bag, make sure the labels match what's supposed to be. Then I tape it up, set it aside for Deborah and them to put on their pallets. Then I go over to Silver Thread to see if Jackie's having any problems, if line's breaking, because sometimes she does, and I have to go get Tyler to see if I need to re-sample it. When Silver Thread comes in, I take 6 spools. I sample 10 lines out of 6 spools, making sure it test is right. Smithwick, for instance, Tracy was coming to me, telling me was having a lot of issues with the suspenders. I said, what do you mean? He said, they're sinking. I said, okay. So after that, I don't let a Smithwick go out of here, it's not 100%ed. And when I say 100%ed, I'm talking about making sure they put the right weight in and the right amount. And if it's supposed to be a suspender, that it does suspend. And that's rising slowly back up. And if it doesn't, then I go out there and tell them they're using the wrong hardware, which is the weight. And sometimes weights can get mixed up, and you have to keep an eye on that. Because there's a whole lot to a lure, and you wonder why it's so expensive. Because it's not just putting it together, making sure the hardware's in. You got to make sure the right amount of hardware's in. You got to make sure it sets right in the water. By the time it gets painted and all, it's not too heavy where it's sinking on you. Leak checking them, you got to put them in the water. If there's green water and it fills up with just the tiny little bit of water, it's going to cause it to swim off. It's a challenge doing the lures. It's a challenge. That's from welding them together to coming and sanding, dipping them, leak checking them, painting them, making sure there's no gaps, swimming them, sky fishing. You have to try sky fishing sometime. I went fishing. I sat and beat my husband catching 100 fish in one day, bass fishing, from the creek bait.